was going to give you like a mission statement or kind of what we do. Embracing Orphans is created just to end the culture of abuse and poverty that kids in Jamaica are stuck within. What inspired me to start Embracing Orphans? Well, the main thing was my faith. And once I got to Jamaica, spending time with the kids, the biggest piece that directed me to start Embracing Orphans was the belief that kids deserve to know that they're loved, and they need to be able to hold on to that hope. The big fundraiser that we do for Embracing Orphans is a spring fundraising dinner. We have about 250 people that come. Usually they're speakers and music, and it's all related to the work we do. So some of the people that share might be our board members, they might be volunteers that have gone before, and it might be kids from Jamaica or people that we work with from Jamaica. From that, we also get monthly contributions, and the other main places are in speaking engagements. We get people that give to us through sharing the stories and the work that we're doing. After the first trip to Jamaica, and I kind of learned what was going on with just one specific children's home, where kids 0 to 8 years old, definitely some of them that were living there, they were losing hope because of being pulled from families in poverty, or losing the families they had, or just the situations weren't great. And when I was at Blossom Gardens, I could see through the fence that you could see the beach from where they were. They're up on top of the hill. And I just kept thinking, wow, to be able to pull the kids out of here just for a day, to be able to go to the beach and just be kids. And when I got to Jamaica, I met some really neat people, and one of the people found out what I was doing, and they asked me if I wanted to take the kids to their beach. And I said, I don't know what your beach is, what do you mean? And they told me that they owned a resort that had been closed for a while, and they were redoing it, and the beach was still closed, but it was a really nice beach. And I went and visited the beach, and it's shallow water, it's a perfect cove, it's really, really pretty, and a great place for kids, even better than the beach that I was going to take them to, which was expensive. So we were able to take all those kids to this private beach where no one was on the beach except for them, and where it got to be theirs for the day.
My favorite kids at Blossom Gardens is a little boy named Sanjay, and Sanjay's about 7 years old right now, and he calls me Auntie Julie whenever I see him. And the first trip I met him, he wasn't feeling so well one day, so I was sitting with him in his bunk reading him stories after lunch while the other kids were playing outside. And we just read the same 4 stories over and over and over again for a couple of hours. And it was neat for Sanjay just to have somebody that was only his for that time. They weren't being pulled in a different direction, or they were just there to play and listen to him. And on a couple trips ago, we got to go to the beach, and Sanjay got to go. And that was a highlight of my time there, was experiencing the beach for the first time with Sanjay. So if you can imagine being able to see the ocean and never being able to go, and finally you get to go, and the joy that that kid had at being able to be lifted up out of the water and swimming for the first time and making sandcastles, it was a pretty powerful time. Windsor Girls Home is a home outside of, in Jamaica for teenage girls. And typically there was 50 to 60 girls there, usually 13 to 18 years old. And outside of their home was a group of men that would stand out there and harass them. So they would yell at them, they would try to get the girls to leave with them. And when we first went was in the summer of 2009, and Carl had read some newspaper articles about it and thought, it couldn't be this bad. So we went during the day and we visited the girls, and they were a little standoffish, as you can imagine. They don't know who we are and why are we there, and we brought a soccer ball and just kind of talked with them for a few minutes, and that night we came back, mainly to bring a cord for their VCR so their VCR would work with their TV, but also to see if the men that were there during the day were there at night. And it was. The men were still there talking to the girls through the fence, trying to get the girls to come out with them. And so we knew that we'd been led to work with the Windsor girls as well. So 2 summers ago, Windsor was in such a bad place that the government asked us, what do you think we should do with Windsor? And we suggested they close. And so they did. They closed the home and they moved those girls to various other facilities. Some they reunited with family, and they still had about 20 girls that they couldn't place anywhere. and they had known that we were looking to buy a house in Jamaica to use as a missions base, to use as possibly housing for families that are coming down to adopt. And they said, would your house fit 20 girls? Could you house 20 girls there? And we said, yeah, we think so. And so a year ago, we built, or we partnered with another mission organization to buy a house in Jamaica, 9 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. We're calling it the Father's House, and it's designed to house teenage girls.
When I was there on my second trip, I ran into a guy that found out that I was working at that children's home, and he asked if he could help. And I said, okay. And he went to shake my hand, and when he shook my hand, he had something in it. And you know how, cool guys in the movies or whatever, sometimes they'll pass something in their hand when they shake your hand? Well, this guy was doing that with money, and I didn't expect him to give me any money. He really didn't know anything about the work I was doing yet. But he shook my hand, and he had money in it, and I put it in my pocket, and I started to well up because I was so thankful, but also, why would you don't even know me that well and you're willing to help? So then he invited me to go to his wedding because he was going to get married in Jamaica, and he wanted me to bring a couple kids from Blossom Gardens with us. So I said okay, and then I went back to the hotel and I counted what I'd put in my pocket, because I didn't count it right there because I was just thankful for whatever it was, $10, $20, whatever. And I counted out 10 $100 bills, and I went, wow, okay. And while we were there, one of the guys, Tyrone, he had on his tuxedo, and he hadn't really worn a tuxedo before, and he had to go to the bathroom, so I took him to the bathroom, and while he was in there, he saw himself in the mirror, and he got really excited, and he goes, do I look good? And I go, yeah, Tyrone, you look good. And he wasn't really asking. He already knew that he looked good, but he just wanted to hear it again. So then after that, he kept asking to go to the bathroom. Not because he needed to go, but because there's not a lot of mirrors at Blossom Gardens, and he hadn't seen himself dressed up, and he hadn't seen himself look royal before.
We first looked at started adoption, and we're looking at many countries, and the cost of it was very expensive, and we were a little downhearted because we didn't have quite that much money saved up for our adoption. So we started telling more people we were adopting to see what other avenues there were for adoption. So we began that process, and while we began that process, Carl Robansky, who's been a friend of mine since I think we were 14 or 15 when we first started hanging out, so we were pretty young, so an old friend of ours, and we came across him, and he found out we were adopting from Jamaica with his work through Jamaica, so he asked to meet up with us, and my husband and I, we met and started talking, and he informed us about his work he was doing to Embracing Orphans and wanted to know if we would be able to help out and be interested in going on trips with them due to the fact we get to know the culture and stuff. And we said of course, and that began our journey with Embracing Orphans. The indescribable feeling of helplessness for children, which is I think the most gut-wrenching experience you can have, because children are so precious and they are all of our future, and it's really heart-wrenching to see how mistreated children have been, and at the same time it's really heartwarming at how forgiving they can be. They can come from really indescribable home lives or lack of any home life, but yet they can find inside of themselves some love and compassion for someone they hardly know. You'll feel like you've created this bond, and then you feel, I think my first trip, I just bawled and bawled when it was time to leave, and not because I was leaving them, but I felt like here, I just created all these relationships with these children to try to teach them to love again and to trust again. You know, it wasn't Carl's first trip, and he saw me just distraught, and he told me, you know what though, but you've taught them to trust and love again, and they're going to need that for the next relationship they need to build.
I don't necessarily think completely that I chose Jamaica. You know how sometimes things happen, and you know it happens for a reason? And it feels so right. Everything in it is good that you wouldn't want to change it. Well, that's Jamaica for me. And it shows that there's something that's bigger than us. There's some reason for us to be selfless. There's a reason for us to not focus on us.